This has clearly been a long time coming. We believe, as an administration, that this is a critical step, and I want to highlight the fact that it is a step in a larger strategy to address solid waste in Ulster County. I want to thank the entire legislature, and in particular, key legislators that drove this process forward with their full appreciation of Ulster County's environment, with an understanding about how important it also is to take on head-on difficult issues that have plagued our community for decades. In this instance, we're talking about a situation in which net service fee was also a fundamental subsidy by the taxpayers of Ulster County. What we are now moving towards is a true fee for services. I'm excited about the efforts of the board of the RRA that they have made to advocate. Again, it's never lost on me that there have been, monumental efforts put forth. In fact, when I spoke to the attorney for the RRA, when I walked in, what I said to Steve was, some thought this day would never happen. And the truth is, it is going to happen. I know Tim Rose is working diligently to make things right at the RRA, but make no mistake, what we are doing today is no panacea. It does not solve every problem. What it does do, though, is put us on a path to be more environmentally friendly, to be more fiscally responsible, and to understand the importance of a serious solution to solid waste throughout the entire county. I also want to personally acknowledge legislators like Legislator Balfilio, the head of the committee, who worked extremely hard on this. I want to acknowledge people like Hector Rodriguez, Tracy Bartels. I know I'm forgetting people. Who was behind me? Ken Wishnick, I apologize. This time I actually did forget. And people like Ken Wishnick, who really have come in with a very clear agenda of wanting to address important policy issues. And for that, we must all take our hat off to folks like that, who are willing to do the hard work. Again, Tim Rose has a tough job ahead of him. The Ulster County Legislature cannot be done. Again, this is not the ending, but merely the beginning. Since the board of the RRA is 100% appointed by the Ulster County Legislature, I think it's important to note that as we address these future issues, it will be a partnership between the legislature and the board to try to make sure that there are serious solutions and not an effort to kick the can down the road. With all that said, and having consulted with the county attorney and reviewed all the testimony, I am looking forward to signing the first flow control law in Ulster County.
This is the original, which goes to the clerk, which we sign first.
All right. I will tell you this, guys. Though some people thought this day could never come, they said the same thing about a lot of things in Ulster County. I'm very proud that working with the legislature, working with the private sector, and in this instance working with the RRA, we were able to accomplish what many thought was impossible.
Want to date it for 1918? Just put 18 in there. And we'll take this. This is the copy. These are the copies now.
When I am done, what I would also like to do is I'd like to ask any legislator or Tim Rose, if they'd like to say a few words, please do not hesitate. This really is a historic moment in Ulster County's history.
I'd like to say one thing.
Please.
Starting this year, when I was appointed the chairman of the Energy Technology Committee, that was the first part of my agenda. We met at the RRA, we took a tour of it, we got to know the board members, we got to see some of the employees, and we looked at the history of the RRA since 1989. And it was apparent that it was not working. And Legislator Wishnick, who comes from the solid waste background, we were able to investigate, to look, and we looked at everything. I mean, there was no stone unturned in our decision to advocate for flow control. The county executive included it in this 2013 budget, and I think the rest is history. This is going to help not only the agency but the taxpayer take the taxpayer subsidy away from the agency and let the people who use the service the most pay the most. And I want to just congratulate the legislature and my committee for all the hard work they did.
Please,
Something to say?
please.
I would like to say a couple of things. First, although I was involved initially in making this one of my first priorities as county legislator to resolve when I took office, I have to say that I do not believe we'd be sitting here today if we're not for the efforts of the chairman of the Environment Committee, Carl Belfilio. He had done an outstanding job of inclusiveness, open-minded, wanted to hear from everyone, and worked diligently, and was forever calling me and asking questions. And I think that is always a good thing among legislators. And I do appreciate that. Now, flow control is something that was originally envisioned at the time, many, many years ago, that the RRA was created, and is in fact in the contract the county has with the RRA. This isn't a radical new idea that suddenly raised its head. It's the absence of flow control being enacted that put us in the corner that we're now no longer going to be facing. Because now what's going to happen is the corporate welfare that essentially has been done and up until this point, meaning that the small haulers and the towns were subsidizing the tipping fees of the large haulers, that is going to now end, and there's going to be equity. So of course, large companies are going to be opposed to this. Small companies will applaud it, and I would suspect we're going to see a lot more business coming into the county in the form of small homegrown collectors that will be keeping their money in the county and creating new jobs. That's an exciting side benefit of flow control, that everyone gets put on the same equal playing field. But saying that, creating a one location monopoly kind of setup is far from ideal, and I don't particularly love it. But given the circumstances that we have today and the financial constraints we have today, as the executive has said, this really is a very, very important step that all responsible legislators need to take in today's environment, to stop taxpayers' subsidies of certain services and make them user fee-based. Those who dispose of the most trash are those who are going to pay the most for it. It doesn't make sense to continue property taxpayers contributing their dollars to subsidizing those who are throwing away lots of trash. So for those who think their trash bills are going up, my message is simple: recycle more, and then we'll all be moving in the right direction as we plan for the remaining phases of managing our solid waste and recycling in the county, as executive has already alluded to. And once we get that done, we will finally have in place a good, sustainable system without a burden to our property taxpayers.
Did you just borrow my corporate
said.
welfare line?
You're
get 3
welcome
minutes,
to
right?
use it.
No, it's okay. You know, almost from when I began my tenure in the legislature, almost going on 10 years ago, I had more hair back then. But this has been such a long day coming, and it's a dream finally realized. Not just because of the financial burden, which, as my colleagues alluded to, has been significant for the taxpayer of Ulster County, but it also is an opportunity for the first time to have a real, true management of our waste in Ulster County. The current system, before flow control, basically rewarded private haulers to be able to come to our agency, and the largest private haulers, by the way, to come to our agency and put a financial burden on us because we had to meet certain waste thresholds. Well, now we will finally be in control of our destiny moving forward. In the next couple of years, the agency will be able to work on ways of cutting costs, but also in ways of enhancing recycling, pulling out organics, and truly getting a handle on municipal solid waste in Ulster County. And I also want to congratulate not only my colleagues who, good legislators like Belfilio and Wishnick, upon their arrival, I think we finally had a coalition that could finally get flow control passed. But I also want to congratulate Michael Hein, our county executive, because it's a partnership, like the budget, like net service fee, like safety net. All these different issues have been a partnership with the county executive's office. So I want to thank Michael as well.
Thank you very much. And with that, again, I would like to open up for any questions that anybody has. Please.
Given that you had two people both firmly opposed to flow control, the public hearing, and you're signing this like within 30 seconds of the closing, what was the point of the public hearing?
We should be very clear about this. It wasn't 30 seconds.
How long?
There was time passed between it. I've had a conversation with the county attorney. The testimony that was provided was nothing that we have not already been informed. There was no new data brought forward. One was an industry group. Okay, it's important to understand in this process. We were very comfortable that there was no additional data that would have precluded this. Had there been additional data that was new news in this process, we would have taken the time to be able to analyze it and review it.
What about the New York State Comptroller's audit, which I'm aware came out between the legislature's passing of the budget and your signing today? To what extent did you weigh that when determining whether or not to sign?
We should be very clear about this. What we said earlier, what we're accomplishing today is not a panacea, and it does not ignore the realities that the RRA must get better from that time period of 2010 to 2011, which is when that review was done. And that's why I say this is the beginning. You know, the legislature has an oversight responsibility, the board has an oversight responsibility, and again, I call on everyone to do their job to properly serve the people of Ulster County. This is a step, but only a step, in addressing the entire process.
What's the next step?
The next step from my perspective is with the board and ultimately the legislature examining a full solution for how we deal with solid waste in Ulster County.
The haulers have pretty deep pockets. If they spend $2.5 million,
I know they spent a lot already trying to knock this back.
yeah, if they get the county to spend $2.5 million on legal fees, does that negate the value of saving $2.5 million on subsidies?
B's rate's not $2.5 million an hour. We're gonna be okay. The truth of the matter is very simple. We're gonna continually do what's right, not what's easy. And in this process, we're doing what's right, not what's easy. I fully expect there to always be challenges along a path when you're doing what's right. It wasn't easy to move through the nursing home situation. But we did it because it was right. It wasn't easy for us to take on a whole host of issues. Safety net being another one. Controversial for decades. But it was right. And so we did it. This is another example of exactly that. A difficult issue that we're moving through because it's right, not because it's easy.
I have a question.
Sure.
Will the EET committee be given the mission of developing the solid waste policy going into the future, and what will the county executive's contribution be in that committee?
I can answer portions of that. In any committee that involves doing things that are for the betterment of the people of Ulster County, we will be involved in. We will participate, we will provide expertise when necessary to be able to assist in that process. Again, ultimately, the legislature plays a pivotal role here in ensuring that policies are set forth that are in the best interest of our shared constituency.
So that'll be the EET committee?
May I answer part of that question?
Please.
Yeah, as long as I'm chairman of the EET committee, We will look at everything for the RRA, and this month, starting with the Resolution 279, we're looking at changing the board structure to allow elected officials on the board. What that would do would be give the taxpayer a say on the RRA board. Right now, they don't have a say. The RRA board is solely in place to make sure that the agency operates efficiently and within its legal bounds. But all through this coming year, what we're going to do is we're going to discuss things with the executive director, Tim Rose, with the board, and we're going to come up with solutions so that the legislature has more oversight. Right now, if it takes a state comptroller's report to raise some eyebrows, I think that was a good thing, and that's where we're going to start. We're going to start with the state comptroller's report. We're going to right the wrongs from past legislatures and since the agency was created. So you can rest assured that the public is welcome in our meetings, and I always give them a chance to speak and to give us their input. And we have, so far this year, taken a lot of public input in that committee. I hope that answered your question.
I just wanted to invite the RA board members and the League of Women Voters, if you wanted to come up behind the county executive, so we could take a picture commemorating this historic, and B, would love for you to stay there.
I was gonna say, are you charging us for this?
Don't get me wrong, for the kind of work that Bea has done and the amount of work that she's done, it probably should be that number, but no.
Well, you are the best.
I'm just gonna get one more. Commemorate this historic event. Thank you.
Again, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Oh.
And Bill, we would have